And with me in studio now, there was something missing last week when we did the program. I have now with me Riggs Eckelberry. He's the CEO of OriginOil, OOIL. And I say that in all seriousness because every time you've been coming on the program, you hear just about every week, there's always something new to talk about. So I guess that's my first question. What's new this week?
Well, I guess for 2 weeks, right?
Right.
But very exciting news earlier this week. We signed our first really our first distribution deal. We had announced at the National Algae Association back in New York at the end of March that we were going to pursue integration deals that we're going to sort of cement the gaps in the algae process lineup. There was the first gap was right after our dewatering step is we need concentration. And we tested a great device in Australia that performed beautifully from this company called World Water Works. And what followed from that was essentially we've agreed in principle to combine and integrate our technologies and mutually market, so they'll be marketing, of course, our stuff in their markets and mutually in ours. But of course we have a very much smaller customer footprint. I mean, we have one customer that's in revenue. So it's actually greatly to our benefit. The World Water Works has significant footprint in the algae industry already, doing this what they call dissolved air flotation, which is a concentration step. So we get that access, plus they have a 50,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Oklahoma City, which we would like to use for manufacturing. So it's a substantial step forward along our business model, and it really starts this going out into the wide market.
When we first started talking to your company a couple of years ago, I kind of thought of you as, we were sitting in Bill Gates' garage in 1976. And now it seems like we've moved away from the garage. We're now into a multi-thousand square foot plant. I mean, this evolution that we've watched you go through over the last 24, 30 months has really been remarkable.
Well, thank you. And it's an accelerating process. And it is really driven by a lot of fundamentals. For example, there's a fascinating fundamental, which is that algae biomass represents only 0.2% of the world's biomass. So the entire green mass of the world, algae is less than 1%. And yet it absorbs 50% of the world's CO2.
Wow.
What does that say? You can go from 0.2% to 0.4% and poof, the CO2 goes away. That's a shocking statistic. It came from a peer-reviewed science, and the fact is that this whole tremendous problem with CO2 that is driving true climate change can be solved with this algae. So I like to say these days, if you've got a wildfire, which is all this fossil fuel use, why try and resist it? Oh, be green, oh this, oh that. How about a backfire?
Sure.
Right? Well, the backfire is algae comes in and sucks up the CO2, right? Taking the energy that's being consumed already and becomes an industry that can then compete with petroleum.
And then, of course, we talk about the CO2 being absorbed or eliminated, so to speak, by the algae, but at the same time, the algae itself becomes a source, a feedstock for the production of fuel beyond that. So it's serving a dual benefit.
Yes, the Department of Energy recently released a study that said that algae can replace 17% of U.S. oil imports.
17%.
That's a huge amount of dollars, and it goes right to our energy security requirement.
Well, now that's really interesting because we're seeing an interruption of 3/5 of 1% of our oil imports from Libya, 3%, less than 1% of what we use, and yet we've seen a 23% increase in the cost of energy in that short period of time. You're talking about replacing 17%. Just like someone said earlier in the program, we can beat the Middle East.
Amen to that.
Once again, OriginOil, OOIL is the stock symbol, as I've said before, something new every time he comes on the program. Riggs, thanks so much.
Thank you, Don.